very much for having me, and with your permission and the fact that I've been told multiple times by my husband and lots of school children that I'm loud enough to be heard in a large room, I'm going to stand off to the side so I can kind of address everyone.
That's fine.
Sure. Okay.
Sure.
No, you
Oh,
can't.
no, you can't because then you won't be
You
seen
have
on
a
television.
You have a television audience.
Then the television will only focus on me. That will be bad.
I like that. Okay. So thank you very much for having me. Again, my name is Sandra Levine. I'm from Great Swamp Watershed Association, and my job is Director of Water Quality Programs. Great Swamp Watershed Association came into being back in the 50s and 60s under the name of the 10 Towns Association, and they came together to protect the Great Swamp watershed property when the Port Authority wanted to turn it into an airport. From those beginnings, from the community coming together in those beginnings, our association has been monitoring and protecting the waters of the Great Swamp watershed for many years. It's my job to go out. We collect all sorts of different water quality data. We do chemistry sampling throughout the watershed 4 times a year, macroinvertebrate sampling, bacteria sampling, all in the surface waters and streams of the area. In 2016, our board of directors decided that we are continuing to preserve the headwaters of the Passaic River and the area that is very pristine and well cared for, but there's not a whole lot of monitoring going on along the rest of the Passaic River. About 2 million people depend on the Passaic River for their drinking water. So it's a big resource that needs more protection. So we have expanded our reach. We have begun sampling downstream. Our sampling sites now include sites all the way down through Summit and Livingston along the Passaic River. And we want to work with the communities downstream to get them involved, to get them engaged with what's going on in their water and their watershed. We help to organize cleanups. We work with communities when we find issues. In the past, we've had meetings to bring the DPWs together to talk about road salt, which is actually the #1 issue in our watershed, and getting into the streams in the runoff and how we can work to minimize that. We've worked with communities when we found other issues to help find leaks in sewage pipes and correct them, leaks in town pools, which are also can affect the water quality, and protect those as well. So we want to hopefully be more engaged in the Summit area. I've given a couple of talks on our 2018 report card, which I brought a couple of copies that I will leave on the back table there if anybody wants to grab one on their way out. To encourage, again, people to be involved. We use a team of volunteers, which right now is at about 45, to help us do all this water quality monitoring and data collection. We report to the state, so we can help keep the DEP involved in what's going on as well. And we would love to be more involved in the Summit area. Like I said, I've given a few talks, as well as a few training sessions over at the library. They have been very welcoming, as has the community, and we would like to continue that engagement, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Do folks have questions? Oh, wow, okay. I will go right down the row. Beth, Matt, Mike.
What have you found in the Summit area since you've begun testing? It's the water quality. Do you have suggestions for us? What are you finding?
Right. So what we're finding so far, as far as scientific data collection, we're kind of careful. We only have 2 years worth of data behind us for this area. Also, we use some of the USGS data as what they've collected. What we're finding is that there's some nutrient loading issues, things like phosphorus and nitrates. We have an idea that that may be being impacted by the wastewater treatment plants that release effluent into the stream. They're not, any of them, exceeding their allowances, but combined total, we're not getting enough dilution in the stream from rain sources to level those numbers out. So we are just beginning to really get an idea and wrap our head around that data, but that's going to be something that we'll want to talk about. One of the things that we can suggest to everybody as far as the road salt, which is also an issue down here as well, is build up better buffer zones. Things like rain gardens, buffer zones, planting trees and native shrubs along the corridors of the stream really make a difference when you're slowing that runoff down. Actually, Marion Glenn is over at the library right now giving a great talk on wastewater management. So she's been a great partner in this.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
How many members are there in the association,
That's
roughly?
That's not a number that I even have any clue about.
Oh.
I'm so sorry. I do the scientific data. Christina and Val are our 2 member associates, and they really keep track of that.
Okay.
I don't even want to give you a ballpark because I'm not sure, and I don't want to be horrific.
No problem, but it's a large organization.
We're a good-sized organization. We are member-based. We get most of our funding from our members, as well as from some corporate sponsorships.
Okay. And regarding the road salt issue,
Yes.
He's looking at our head of Republic Community Services, that's why.
Hi.
are there alternatives to traditional road salt that you would recommend?
There are alternatives, and this is the talk that we have maybe every few years or so. The way that the alternatives are going to need to work, it's going to have to come up through the communities. People at the household level are going to need to start to buy more of the environmentally friendly de-icers. Most of them say pet friendly, things like that, that don't contain the salts in them, because right now the cost of procuring the quantities that you need of those products is prohibitive. So the more that they can produce, the more that the community purchases them, the production goes up, the cost of production goes down, and that's when the towns will start to be able to invest in that kind of on a town-wide. Right now, the best alternative, the best strategies that we have are brining before the storms really begins to cut down on that road salt quantity, and that's really the best kind of strategy at this point, unless you want to spend thousands of dollars more per pound for getting your roads de-iced.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike.
Yeah, Beth asked my question, but as a follow-up. No, I'm glad. Just for people who want to get involved, can you just tell what's the best way to get involved with
Certainly.
either
So-
joining your organization or cleanups or things like that?
We have lots of great opportunities to get involved, either just with the organization. I did bring some calendars. We have a music festival where you could learn more about what we do. We have stream assessment trainings. The last one I actually held at Florham Park Library. It was just a few months ago. And that's where people come to learn how to read a stream, to see what's going on with it. We hold those trainings twice a year, but if you'd like to get involved as a volunteer, I am always happy to go out and do individual training in the streams at any point in time. We do cleanups. We're working with the communities. We're actually already in contact through Marion Glenn, looking into ways to we have a well testing and a water tap testing program, which brings to the community, we call it Test the Tap. And we encourage people to take back the tap to reduce microplastics in the water. Plastics, single-use plastic bottles, bags, all of that has a real impact on our water. We've been doing some sampling on that as well starting last year. And we're finding plastics in the water up as far as Jockey Hollow, so they're kind of everywhere. So by encouraging people to get their house water tested to make sure that it's safe at a discounted price, it really helps the community to see that their tap water is safe to drink. So we're hopefully going to be running that this summer in Summit as one of our drop-off stations. So that is another way people can get involved.
That's great. I'm a big proponent of Summit tap water.
Yes, actually, you guys have really good tap water.
Marjorie.
Thank you, Council President. I was wondering, is all of Summit in the watershed, in the Great Swamp watershed?
I believe there are parts of Summit that are in the Raritan watershed.
Okay, so you're basically talking about just the parts that are the Passaic River that
Yeah,
apply.
we're sampling the Passaic River and some of its tributaries in the area. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Steve.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the presentation, first off. And my one question is, you didn't really tap on, and I'm sure there's a lot of it, is the pesticides and the organic versus
Right.
fertilizers
so,
and the like.
fertilizers and such. So we do not currently test for pesticides regularly when we are testing the stream water. Unfortunately, pesticide sampling is prohibitively expensive to do wide-scale pesticides. We do occasional pesticide testing throughout our sampling. As far as the fertilizers, we certainly encourage organic fertilizers. My personal vote is to get rid of your yards. Which isn't really what anybody wants to hear. It's funny because Marianne Glenn was over at the beginning of her presentation. She was saying the same thing. The best thing you can do is break up your lawn. Everybody wants some lawn, picnic table, fire pit, whatever. But the more you can break that up, the less lawn you have, the less runoff you get, and the less fertilizer you need to use. If you can break it up with native plants and native vegetation, then you're not going to need fertilizer. You're not going to need to water. So that's really a great option. In general, for fertilizers, there are some pretty basic rules that are actually laws in New Jersey as far as when you can use them and how much you can use them. Phosphorus is no longer available in fertilizers that you can buy what I call over-the-counter. If you go to the local hardware store, the fertilizers you buy no longer have phosphorus in them in an effort to keep that out of the waters. So we do certainly encourage that. We have an area on our website that talks about environmentally friendly or river-friendly living, and there's lots of different tips of things you can do in your house, things you can do in your lawn to encourage clean water in the watershed.
Nora.
Hi, thank you very much for your presentation. Would you mind making sure that our city clerk has the booklet so that we can put out through the city through the communications office, you know, your website and tips and how people can reach out to you?
I can send you this as a PDF if that makes it easier.
That'd be great.
Easier.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all your hard work.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Hold on,
Okay.
wait a second.
I will
Is there
do
anyone
that.
from the public that has any, oh, wait, Beth
I
has
just have
another one.
more.
Yeah,
Just
there
one
you
more
go.
follow-up that first of all, I just wanted the people at home to know, I believe Paul Cascase can concur that we do brining ahead of storms, and we are aware of that issue, so Summit's on top of that. Also, in the recent Earth Day, we did clean up we added the area along the Passaic River, and we are looking at improving that area. So you said that you have suggestions for plantings and things that can be done along the river. Is that something you would consult with us on as we
Certainly.
continue to
Yes, I would be
do
happy
that?
to-
That
I
would be
happy
wonderful.
to work with you.
That would be
As well
great.
as my coworker Hazel England is our director of stewardship, and she works with a lot of our stewardship programs to help design and talk about what things are good to plant
Great.
and protect the river that way.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vivian, come on.
I'm sorry.
No, come up, just come up, and so this way people can hear the question and answer.
You mentioned having people's water tested in their homes, and you provide that service, or?
So what we do is we work with a lab, at no cost to us, we don't take any of the money, and the lab allows us to, by doing a mass testing with lots of people involved in one day, they essentially offer the testing at half cost. And the only requirement that they have is that you're not using it for any legal purposes, so you can't use it for a house sale or anything like that.
Okay, so I think many people might be interested in that. I
Yes.
know I would be.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
it's-
haven't picked a date, but we're looking the end of June, so I will keep everyone updated.
We have, I think there's a program about energy efficiency, right? So it's like the similar type of thing where they go, they evaluate your house, and so in this case, it's your water that they
It's your water
evaluate,
testing,
right?
yeah.
The one question I have, and this is piggybacking off Beth's question about plantings, because later on we're going to be talking about our tree management plan. When you're talking about plantings, are you talking only along the Passaic River, or are you talking throughout the town?
So specifically along the Passaic River will help slow the runoff, but planting throughout the town, rain gardens, any sort of breaking up of those lawns, planting trees, that helps to have the water infiltrate through the soil more, and the roots of the plants uptake some of the nutrients out of the water as it filters through, allowing it to get into the streams and be cleaner as it enters the streams. So really plantings throughout the town, the greener we can make it, the better it is for the water.
Great. Okay. Is there anybody else with questions? With that, thank you, Sandra. Appreciate you
Thank you
coming
so
in,
much for
and we
having
look
me.
forward with working with you guys, okay?
Great.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Okay.
Thank you.